Hi, everybody. I guess I get to be the warm-up act for the afternoon. So my name is Chris Daniels. I'm the founder and CEO of Elevated. So there are a lot of companies that talk about being the eHarmony for the workplace. We are actually the eHarmony for the workplace. We acquired Elevated Careers from eHarmony last summer. And I'll talk a little bit more, of course, about what it is and what we actually do. So what's the problem that we solve? I think we all see in the market the fact that we have a tremendously disengaged workforce. It doesn't matter whether it's the companies that are creating the problem. It doesn't matter whether it's the workforce that's creating the problem. But at the end of the day, we have a very disengaged workforce that has a significant impact on companies' ability to succeed. So let's talk for a moment about the benefit of having an engaged workforce. At the end of the day, there are many, many different studies that have shown the more engaged your workforce is, the more productive and successful your companies are. And that's not just from sort of the old cultural touchy-feely standpoint, it's actually bottom line. Companies that have highly engaged workforces are actually more financially successful than those that don't. So let's talk about Elevated. We spent many years ourselves before we acquired Elevated and then combined with the depth of knowledge that eHarmony had to build what really has become an end-to-end people analytics platform. So we've got their experience across 20 years worth of human compatibility experience and knowledge, combined with some of our own technology that we invented to help solve the problem that I had just talked about, which is how do you create, at the end of the day, a better, more engaged workforce, and how do you better match job candidates to companies from a cultural perspective. So what do we actually do? We have products that span across these four categories. We can assess candidates. We can help to source candidates using smart automated sourcing technology with lots of predictive intelligence inside. We can then predict, as I just mentioned, all sorts of attributes about the workforce or those job candidates and how ultimately they might fit into an organization, and then ultimately how they might perform. And the whole goal being to make sure on the talent acquisition side that we're putting people into companies that have a chance to be highly engaged, i.e. more productive, and the companies have a better bottom line and employees have a better overall experience. So what can we do? We can actually assess a company's existing culture. We can give companies insights into what their culture is all about and how engaged their workforce actually is. It's not just a feedback mechanism. There's lots of smart intelligence inside that not only says, this is how engaged your workforce is, but where are you disengaged? And if you were to change certain things about your organization, we can predict the overall statistical impact on engagement. So there's a true sort of ROI connection to the insights that we ultimately provide. And these are the cultural factors that we assess across any organization. Through eHarmony's research, they determined that regardless of the size of a company, regardless of how large the workforce was, these 16 things are the key drivers in employee engagement. In addition to that, companies said, look, I want to create an engaged workforce, but it's really hard to find people. We have a very, as we all know, tight labor market. It's very challenging for companies to identify the best people. So we help augment their efforts, not with a traditional approach to sourcing, as it's called in talent acquisition or recruiting, but using smart automated technology that can look across any publicly available database to pull candidate data, identify candidates that are the right fit for the organization, and even predict things like, if they come to your company, how long might they stay? In addition to that, we can give insights into things like skills, which isn't terribly unique, quite frankly, in this day and age. But it's really more about the other predictors, as I mentioned just a moment ago, tenure, for example. If someone comes to your organization, how long might they stay? But in addition to that, we can help give insights into what's the likelihood that somebody will actually leave their current organization and come across to yours. So the whole goal is to make, at least on the recruiting side, the process significantly more efficient. As most of you know who are in talent acquisition, that tends to be where the most resources are expended, and it's a very challenging and difficult process to get right. So in addition to that, and this is really truly leveraging eHarmony's experience in human compatibility, and then on top of that, they spent another 3-4 years doing academic and scientific research into what makes people compatible in the workplace. They didn't just look at what makes people compatible from a personal standpoint, which of course the workplace is different in many regards. So they did quite a bit of research into that element of fit, and combine that with, of course, the learnings that they had across human interaction from a personal perspective over their lifespan. And the key insights that we look to from a personality standpoint are these 8 personality factors. So as everybody knows, there are many personality tests, many personality assessments. The key, though, is to look at the things that are actually proven across hundreds of thousands of people and hundreds of companies to be the drivers of compatibility. And the real benefit of this platform is you don't use one tool to look at your employee engagement or understand your culture. You don't look at another set of tools, could be 1, 2, 3, or 4, to look at an individual assessment of an individual. This is a single, holistic platform to look at your existing workforce, potential job candidates, and insights and predictors across both that are common because the science is common across all of it. This is just the typical customer slide to give you a sense of where we operate. We work with large enterprise customers. We work with smaller customers across verticals. Healthcare happens to be, by the way, a tremendously large vertical and opportunity for all of us, given the tight labor market in particular that exists within healthcare. So our business works really across small to large enterprise companies and across verticals. So just in closing, we look at everything in terms of a funnel. How can you understand how to put people into your organization unless you understand what your organization is all about? And at the end of the day, the goal through our entire life cycle of our product or the recruiting process is to make sure that you get people into organizations that will stay, that are engaged, that are the right fits. At the end of the day, it's easy to identify skills. It's hard to identify fit. And that's the key to long-term employee productivity. Thank you very much.